Hey, what's up? Hello. The date now is October 6th and it's 10:13 a.m. And remember when I said that I would come back after I've settled into college? Well, settling in turned into 2 tests a week, and I've just finished my 4th week of classes at Dartmouth. It's been 4 weeks of classes, but it's actually been 6 weeks almost since I left from Shanghai. And that's because Dartmouth is super extra, and before your classes start, there's a week of trips, which is basically they throw you out into the wilderness and you camp. And then there's another week of orientation and then classes. Trip is an awesome experience because you really get to bond with like a small group of people before you get on campus. So by the time you get on campus, you have like at least a little bit of a support group. I didn't film anything from trips because you weren't allowed to bring your phones on the trip, like they get confiscated, and I didn't want to bring the camera because I was scared that it's gonna get stolen since we were out in the wilderness, like even more in the middle of nowhere than Hanover, which is really weird. So here are some pictures from my trip. As for orientation, I also didn't film a lot because I spent most of the time getting my dorm ready or getting my schedule ready or just being busy during orientation. And I think I might have shaken hands with like over 200 people and asking about their names but retained like 30% of that information. It's ridiculous how packed they made our orientation week and filled it with events like this.
Drop your palm. 1, 2, 3.
Honestly, we were so tired by the end of the orientation week because of all the activities they made us participate in, and we just wanted classes to start, which is a really bad idea because once you start studying, you just never stop. And we have 10-week terms here, which is really fast, and everyone says that it's really fast. And when I first came, I was like, okay, it's 10 weeks, but it's still like 10 weeks. That's still a lot of time. It doesn't really go by really quick, but the paces of all the classes are just really sped up. And the teachers or professors really try to cram a bunch of information into one class period, and it's like really hard to digest. So what I've been doing is I've been just literally transcribing what they're saying and then processing it after the fact, which takes so much more time. But I think that's like the best way I can learn because I can't process simultaneously with their brain. And also, if you're a slow reader like me, you fall behind on readings really quick because they assign like 1 or 2 chapters a day, and it's like in all the classes. So if you want to like read thoroughly, you gotta give up some of that efficiency. Also, it sucks that unlike in high school, there's like 4 or 5 assignments, like graded assessments total in the whole term, which means that each assignment is worth a lot more than it is. And so if you just screw up an assignment that's say like worth 35% of your grade, then you're basically done for the whole term. Like if you fail that one, then you're basically dead, and you just constantly have to be on it, which is really difficult. And it so happens that a lot of my classes like to have exams on the same day or like back to back, which is just really stressing me out. And that's what's been happening to me for the past 2 weeks, which has been a lot. But I have to say that the professors here are really awesome because they don't really have like something to teach to, like an AP test, so they kind of just structure it themselves, and then so they really teach like what they want to teach, which is really interesting because, like for example, I'm taking a psych class this term, and all the examples of like experiments are experiments that the prof themselves have done, and that's just super weird because usually you're kind of distanced from the experiment that's being taught, but I guess like these experiments are more personal because you kind of know the people who are studying them, and I don't know, that's just interesting to me. Another thing about academics is that I'm taking a language this term, and it's an introductory language, so they have this thing called drill, which happens either at 7:45 in the morning or 5:30 in the afternoon. And what you do is basically they drill you on vocabulary and like sentence structure and stuff like that for like a language. And I chose the 7:45 one because I didn't know if I would have conflicts at like 5:30. And so basically almost every day I have to wake up at 7:45, which is really tiring, especially because I have classes at 10 and that just makes me so sad. And I've had like a couple of close calls with time because I just fell asleep before I set the alarm. So what I do now is basically I get up, go to drill, eat breakfast, and come back to sleep because my classes start at 10 and I have like an hour of nap in between. But what this does is it makes me late for my actual first class at 10.
I'm gonna be late.
Which is like not good. So I have to fix that too. But at least I'll be actually awake during my first class rather than falling asleep because I have to get up at 7:45 for drill. Speaking of like breakfast and meal plans, they actually put us on like this meal plan which has 4 meal swipes a term. And usually what people do is they use these meal swipes up on the buffet cafeteria, like all you can eat. And the food is okay there. The stir fry is pretty good, but the desserts are like a whole new level. Like the cookies and the ice cream are like the best ever. And if you ever get here for like a college tour or something, you have to try the cookies and the ice cream at the 1953 Commons. So here's a plug for them. As for social life, you naturally just get really close to your floor and your trip because you spend so much time together and you basically live together. And then during classes, you just kind of find kinds of people who are just as confused as you. So you bond over your confusion, which is actually really funny. And the constant like, what's your name? Get over about like 2 weeks in, so it's not just constantly on socially all the time. And that's really good for me because I really need alone time, and if you throw me into a super high social environment, I might just collapse and melt. There are also just way too many clubs that they have, and I'm like interested in joining so many clubs, but there's not enough time for me to like manage everything. So that's where like the term schedule comes in handy because everything just kind of resets after each term, so you can just join new clubs or whatever after each term. Ooh, my mind's just... And the thing is, like the first 2-3 weeks actually were interest meetings, so I spent a lot of time in interest meetings, and right now I would say I was part of like 4 or 5 clubs, which is already a lot, and I've been slacking on other meetings because of a lot of tests. But I'll get back on it like next week. Keep me accountable. Other than that, they also have a lot of just extra bonding activities or just activities to get people to like de-stress, I guess. And the other week there was like a friendship concert. There was a rollerblading event. And then floors in general just do a lot of events to get like floor mates bonded. So I guess they just really want you to feel part of a community, which is good. But really what interests me the most is the movie theater, which is like a 5-minute walk from campus at most. And also Dartmouth's ability to just get like special screening or advanced screening films. And I'd say I've been here for almost 5 weeks and I've watched 4 movies, and I'm gonna watch another one probably today. I watched A Star is Born yesterday, and oh my god, I highly recommend that movie to you, especially if you want to get like screwed up over the ending, then you should definitely watch that movie, but highly recommend A Star is Born. I would say the only thing annoying about life at Dartmouth so far is the stupid weather, because it can't make up its mind about whether it wants to be winter or summer, and this was especially bad during orientation week because it was super hot, but then there was no, or at first we didn't have any fans, so we were just dying in my dorm. But then it started cooling down, which just made me sick, and just so it was just not good. I'm still trying to get over the sickness right now. And the other thing that's bad is Friday night at 1:45 p.m., which you can see for yourself. But yeah, I think I'm falling into a routine right now. Most of this routine is basically get up, go to drill, go back to sleep, go to class, come back, and go to the library to study for the rest of the day because I'm constantly studying. I think I'm gonna go off to watch Christopher Robin today, which is my 5th movie here already, I think, at least, if you don't count the Netflix movies that I've watched. I'm thinking of making like these like update raw, basically uncut videos, maybe once a month to update you guys on how everything's been, and it's like not that much work, but still like I feel like this is good for both me and you to know what's up. Some other video probably in between each of these. And so comment below what you think of these, and yeah, I'll see you next time. But before I leave, here's some footage of the little bit that I filmed during orientation.